And we are live. Hello, Lee Hayward here with the Total Fitness Bodybuilding video chat for June the 9th. Welcome. And just going to stretch here and wait a moment to get a few people popping onto our live stream. I think this is working good. Seems to be coming through loud and clear on my end, and hopefully it is coming through loud and clear on your end. All right, so let's see if it is. Wait for a few people to pop onto our live stream. And the way these video chats work is every Friday I do a live Q&A on the Total Fitness Bodybuilding video, the YouTube channel, as well as the Total Fitness Bodybuilding Facebook page. So if you are tuning in from YouTube or Facebook, you'll have access to either comments or a chat window. So on YouTube, it is a chat window to the side of the video where you can type in questions and topics of discussion. If you're watching this on Facebook, you'll be able to type into the comment section below. And the way it works is I'm going to be hanging out here for the next hour, answering some questions and topics of discussion that you have related to fitness and nutrition. So anything relating to your workouts, your eating plan, any specific challenges regarding building muscle, losing fat, anything at all that you would like to discuss, feel free to type those questions and topics of discussion into our chat, and I'll do the best that I can to help you out over the course of our video chat today. So let us see. We have some people joining in. I see some regulars joining in, and if you're brand new to these video chats, I want to welcome you. It's always nice to have some new people joining in. And if you are new, let me know. Let me know in the comments there if you are joining in for the very first time. We'll give you a special priority if you are joining in for the first time. That's always nice to see. So let's see. We have Lee is joining in. Welcome. He says coming through loud and clear. Awesome. I always like to, I normally ask that, but Lee's a regular, so he knows, and he's letting me know that it is coming through loud and clear. Much appreciated. We have a cool gamer joining in saying, hey, back to you. We have Christina is joining in. Hello, Christina. Welcome. Glad to have you joining in. And another thing that you can do as well is you can submit questions and topics of discussion in advance, because I know we have people from all over the globe joining in for these chats. A lot of people tune in live, but a lot more will catch the replays afterwards because it may not always sync up with your local time zones and all that stuff. So these chats may be in the wee hours of the morning where you live, or maybe you're working or you're unable to join in or whatever the reason. So a lot of people do catch the replay. And if that is the case, you can submit questions in advance. And I do have a question that was submitted, actually was submitted as a comment from last week's chat that I'm going to address here as well. So just want to give you a heads up. If there's anything that you would like me to discuss on these live video Q&A, but you can't make it live for some reason, you can send it in, whether you private message me through Facebook or whether you send me an email. And I got all my details, contact details down in the description below this video. So feel free to pop that open and you can reach out to me. All right, so let's see who else is joining in. Got a bunch of people jumping onto our live stream now, which is awesome. We have Baby Boomer joining in. Hey, how's it going? We have Neil is joining in. Good day, Neil. Welcome. Glad to have you tuning in. Christina again. All right, that's a double. Yeah, welcome again. Wesley's joining in first time. Glad to have you joining in. And this is Christina's first time. Awesome. We have David is joining in as well. Excellent. All right. Good stuff. All right. So again, just for those of you who are popping onto the live stream right now, again, just want to let you know that the way these chats work is if you do have any questions or topics of discussion, David's joining in. Good afternoon, David. David just came on board with our Muscle After 40 Blueprint program. Glad to see you joining in for our live Q&A as well. Awesome. And again, the way these work is, again, I'm going to be hanging out here for the next hour, answering questions and topics of discussion that you have related to fitness and nutrition. So feel free to type in those questions and topics of discussion into our chat window, and I'll do the best that I can to help you out. All right, so let's jump in here. We have Robert is joining in as well. Robert, good afternoon. Nice to see a good turnout. Good stuff. And I am running solo today. Normally I do have my co-host, Jeff Samatero, sometimes joins in, but today Jeff is playing a gig. He's, in addition to helping out with the whole total fitness bodybuilding and the Muscle After 40 program, he works on the weekends as a drummer in a rock band. So he's got an early gig that he has to get to. So that he is on his way to that, and I am running this show solo, but I'm sure I can make it work. I've done many solo shows, so I can hold off and make it work myself, I'm sure. All right, so I'm going to just share this. It was a question from Michael. Now, this one was sent in to me through email, so I don't have the, it wasn't typed into our questions and comments section there, but I'm just going to read it out here. This one, Michael said, can you please give your thoughts on endocrine disruptors in our environment? He says, I live in Australia, so I usually miss your live video chats. He says, anyway, I recently made several changes to try and avoid endocrine disruptors as best as I can, and I was wondering if you have any thoughts or ideas on this. For example, he says, I only use stainless steel water bottles and make sure the water is filtered. I changed the kind of soap I use, the deodorant, the shampoo. I use glass food and storage containers. What else? He says, I dish brush. I'm not sure what he means by that, dish brush, to try and avoid putting my hands in detergent, as they can absorb into your bloodstream via your skin. I believe this mimics estrogen in the body and lowers testosterone. We'll be interested to hear your thoughts. Okay, I'm familiar with what you're talking about. And if you start, reading and doing some research into all the different chemicals and gunk that's in our environment these days, it can be a bit overwhelming and a bit scary too. And no doubt there is some truth to all this stuff that you were talking about. However, I also believe from a practical point of view that we can blow things out of proportion and stress the crap out of ourselves as well. With that being said, I do try my best to live a healthy lifestyle in all areas. So obviously, the big ones we want to look at is your lifestyle habits, meaning your nutrition, your exercise, your lifestyle choices in that regard. I think those are the big rocks. Like if you heard the analogy of you want to put the big rocks in the jar first and then the little rocks and then fill it up with sand afterwards, in the order of priority, if you will. This stuff that you're talking about here, these endocrine disruptors, in my opinion, this is the smaller particles. This is like the sand, if you will. All right. So if you start worrying about this first, there's bigger rocks that you can focus on. They'll probably have a bigger bang for your buck. Like if someone is worried about, oh, I want to make sure that I have a stainless steel water bottle, and they're still consuming processed junk food, they're not exercising regularly, they're consuming alcohol or recreational drugs or any other thing like that. Like those are the big rocks. Like let's get the big things taken care of first. This stuff here is like the icing on the cake. This is extra stuff that you can focus on once you have all the major things taken care of. So you have to look at it in the order of priority. And when I'm coaching people personally, like guys who come on board with our Muscle After 40 blueprint, one of the things I always emphasize is let's not stress ourselves over trying to be perfect when overhauling our entire diet and lifestyle from day one. Let's focus on being better than we were before. Making these small marginal improvements day after day and just focus on improving as we go. And if you try to stress yourself out with too much too soon, it can get overwhelming. And then sometimes people just say, oh, screw it. There's too much to do. There's too much to change. I can't do it. I give up, because they get overwhelmed. And if you start stressing over nutrition and exercise and lifestyle, and then all these environmental factors as well, in terms of like, oh my God, I'm afraid to drink water because it's in a plastic bottle, and then you're not drinking enough water. Like there's a lot of, things we had to put into perspective. So personally, like I try to avoid a lot of this stuff to the best of my ability, but I'm not stressing out over it. Like if I'm out somewhere and I'm thirsty and I need water, heck, I'm going to get a bottle of water, right? I'm not going to, oh my God, this water is in a plastic bottle and I'm afraid there's, residues or chemicals in the plastic bottle. Like if the risk of being dehydrated, I think, is worse than the risk of whatever potential residue or something that's going to come through the plastic bottle. But with that being said, I do try to look for things like when I get my own water bottles, like this one, for example. I have one here, the whole BPA free water bottles. Like when I'm buying stuff, I always like to try and get, the best options. Trying to get your foods natural and avoiding the processed junk as much as possible. As far as the deodorants and shampoos, there's parabens in some of that, which can have impacts. And there's, they say that can help to, or not help, but can cause imbalances when it comes to hormone production and all that stuff. So try and get the natural products as best you can. So you can certainly go into looking for this. And, if you go to like the natural product section of the store, or you go to a specific health store or order stuff online, you can get better quality products in these cases. And I've done that myself. And does it make a difference? From a practical point of view, you probably are not going to really feel it or notice it, but over the long term, could it have an impact? Yeah, it certainly could, I think. But again, it's you have to put it all in perspective, right? Like take care of the big things first, and then this is the icing on the cake. So if you're already living a healthy lifestyle, you're eating natural unprocessed foods, you're exercising, you're getting adequate sleep, you're avoiding alcohol and tobacco and recreational drugs and all that kind of stuff, and you want to step it up to another level, then this is certainly another level. And that's one of the things you'll find when it comes to your whole health and wellness is there's always another level, right? Nobody has it all figured out. Everybody out there, regardless of how much progress you've made or how good you are or whatever, there's always something else that you can do a little bit better. And just realize that and strive to make those improvements as you go. So this is, again, the top of the food chain, the icing on the cake, if you will, put it that way. So yeah, you can certainly take advantage of these things. If it's the one thing you got to factor in here is obviously this is going to add a lot of expense to your budget, if you will, because if you buy natural deodorants and shampoos and all this kind of stuff, it's going to be probably twice the price of the regular stuff that you would get. So, I mean, obviously that's going to factor in there, and you might want to, budget accordingly. But simple stuff like, getting yourself a glass water bottle versus, or at least a BPA free one if you want, that can certainly help. Being a bit more particular about your food storage containers. He says he uses glass food storage containers. Yeah, I don't see anything wrong with that. Those are like one-time purchases. That can be an easy one. That you could do. But with the regular stuff that you have to buy over and over again, that can certainly add up in terms of your expenses. And you want to look at it in proportion, right? I would much rather someone eat natural, healthy, unprocessed foods than stressing out over the type of deodorant or shampoo they use. Like, put it in order of perspective. And as far as like avoiding washing your dishes because you're afraid you're going to get the detergent on your hands, I've never been that particular myself. I mean, maybe there is some truth to it. I mean, if that's an issue, hey, get some dish gloves and wash your dishes with dish gloves so you don't have to touch it if that's a concern. But I have no problem getting my hands soapy, if you will, because, hey, we should wash our hands anyway. So if it's cleaning the dirt off our dishes, hopefully it's cleaning some of the dirt off the hands as well. But it's an interesting perspective, and it's something that, take it with a grain of salt. That's my practical opinion on this, is take it with a grain of salt, because I believe sometimes we can blow some of this stuff out of proportion. And I'm sure we all know some people who are extreme health nuts, if you will, and they're stressing out over every little nitty gritty detail. And then you got to factor in stress in and of itself is not a good thing either, right? That can create havoc in your body. So if you're stressing out over, oh my God, is this water safe to drink? Or is this soap safe to wash in? Or is this deodorant that, going to cause me problems? I mean, that stress in and of itself and worrying about stuff is not helping either. So put it in perspective. That's my feedback on it. Put it in perspective and focus on taking care of the big things first, and then these are the little things that you can worry about as you move further along in your health and wellness journey. But hopefully that helps. I mean, obviously you can start going on Google and researching and stuff. I mean, there's tons of information about this if you really want to dive into it and take it to that next level. But focus on just being better than you were before. That's the simple answer here. Better than you were before. All right, let's move on. Let's see if we have any questions coming through from our live audience joining in. TS is joining in. Thank you for your support. Much appreciated. He says, I'm en route to the gym, taking your advice to work back up to my linear progression program, bench, curls, deadlifts, and dips today. Awesome. Good stuff. Focusing on that progressive overload with the basics. And you can make some amazing progress with just a simple program that's done consistently and done in that progressive overload fashion. And when I look back over my own training progress over the years, some of the best gains that I've ever made were with very basic programs that were just done consistently and progressively, right? That's like, I'm thinking like some that stand out in my mind, like the 20 rep squat program. If you're not familiar with that, just do a Google search for Lee Hayward 20 rep squats. And I have an old blog post up on my website. I also have a YouTube video. If you do search for Lee Hayward 20 rep squats, that'll pop up. That's a very simple program. It's old as dirt. That thing is over 100 years old, but it works. It's simple. It's basic. It's hard, but it works. Other programs, like some basic powerlifting programs. Like I remember doing some very simple ones, just focusing on the squat, bench, and deadlift. You know, just training those 3 core exercises along with a couple assistant exercises and just doing that week after week after week and focusing on that gradual progressive overload. And I actually was using the fractional weight plates, just trying to add a pound each time. And it's amazing, you know, how much progress you can make with some very basic programs and just let it build up progressively over time. Again, it's consistency is the most important thing. But yeah, thanks for sharing that. I'm glad to hear you're getting back to the basics there. What else we got there? Let me just jump in. Okay, we got a lot of people joining in, which is great to see. Most from YouTube, some from Facebook. Awesome. Let's see, where are we to? David's got a question saying, is the anabolic window real? Yes and no. All right, let me elaborate. All these questions, it depends. All right, and that's why I love these live Q&A, because it allows me to elaborate. And whenever you hear fitness advice, and I just want, this is not directly related to David's question, but it's kind of fitness advice in general. Most of the advice that you see online is generally good advice. Now, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of crap out there as well, but a lot of it is actually legit good advice. However, who's that advice for? It might be good advice for the person or the demographic that it's geared towards. And I'll give you an analogy. A lot of times we might be following a bodybuilding website, and this advice they're giving might be ideal for competitive bodybuilders. But is that going to apply to average, regular folks who are just trying to improve their overall health and wellness, you know, lose some weight and get in shape? Maybe not. Right? So you have to look at it from the bigger picture perspective. And the anabolic window, this is one of those top tier things. Like, can it make a difference? Yes, it can. But is it a big thing? It's like the small rocks, as the small rocks analogy. The big rocks, are you even exercising consistently? Like this whole anabolic window. Now, let me even back up further again, because a lot of people might be saying, what the hell is an anabolic window? Right? Is it one of those? Is that window anabolic? I don't know. The anabolic window is after your workout, when you've trained, you've stimulated your body, you've stimulated muscle growth and all that. Your muscles are in a state where they can uptake nutrients at a faster rate. because you've depleted them, you've broken them down through the training, and then the nutrition that you consume afterwards can be uptaked at a faster rate. So this is an ideal time to really focus on that high quality, fast absorbing nutrition. So some good fast absorbing protein, some good fast absorbing carbohydrates to really help to shuttle those nutrients into your depleted muscles and to help speed up the whole recovery process. So that's what the anabolic window is. Now, back in the old days, like back in the around, I remember reading muscle magazines back in the 90s, and they blew this thing out of proportion because they used it as a marketing tool for selling supplements. And they really did a great job on selling it, but they blew it out of proportion. I remember people saying, well, you got to get in your post-workout shake within 2 minutes of your last rep of your workout, or else your workout is going to be gone to waste and you're going to miss the anabolic window and all your gains are going to be, gone down the toilet. Like, you're not going to make any gains unless you hit that anabolic window. And they really blew it out of proportion. It's not this specific timed thing. Like, if you wait a little while after your workout, you wait 5 or 10 minutes before you consume something, you're not going to miss the window, if you will. So it's not as extreme as they used to make it out to be in the old muscle magazines back in the 90s, or especially when they were selling all these different post-workout concoctions. But there is some truth to it. So you can still take advantage of it, and having a good quality post-workout meal that does contain high quality protein, some good high quality carbohydrates, and that is easy to absorb, easy to digest and utilize, can certainly help to maximize your recovery. And this is something that I do personally. Like, I will focus on having good quality nutrition after my workouts. But something that's even more important than the anabolic window is what you're having before the workout itself. So your pre-workout nutrition is more important than your post-workout nutrition. And from a practical point of view, this makes a lot of sense, because what you eat leading up to the workout is actually going to fuel the workout. So you can actually utilize that nutrition to fuel and nourish your body while you're working out. And that's still being absorbed and released into your system after the workout. Like, when you consume food, it's not like it's instantaneously absorbed, right? Like, it takes a while for the body to break down, digest it, and utilize it. So if you have a good pre-workout meal, that's still going to be released into your system during the workout itself and even after the workout. So you can take advantage of that. And that's something that I've really switched my focus on in recent years, to pre-workout nutrition versus the whole post-workout nutrition. And I find that has made a big difference, especially when it comes to exercise performance and muscle gain. This is something that's very powerful, because there's a school of thought where a lot of people think, well, I'm going to do fasted workouts to try and maximize fat burning. And yeah, there is some truth to that. If you do a fasted workout, obviously, if there's no food in your system, your blood sugar is low and everything else, you're more readily able to tap into burning stored body fat. But it also is more catabolic. You're more likely to break down muscle tissue and deplete your glycogen stores to a degree where it can be catabolic. So having something in your system to run on will actually make you feel stronger, give you more energy. You have more glycogen in your system, so you got some energy to burn while you're actually in the gym training. And then that's also going to be released after the workout. So I would be more concerned with pre-workout nutrition and actually intra-workout nutrition. So another one that I like to do as well, depending on the type of workout, is having like amino acids during the workout. So like when I'm mixing up my water bottle in the gym, I'll put in amino acids in there, also put electrolytes in there. And I find that helps to provide very rapidly absorbing aminos and the electrolytes to help keep your strength and energy high in the gym. So that's another thing that I do as well. And if it's a really long workout, then I will even have fast absorbing carbohydrate powder to help fuel that workout. So like prime example, I did a big bike ride this morning. By most people's standards, it's a pretty darn big one. It was a 146-kilometer bike ride this morning. Took over 5 hours to do that bike ride. During that ride, I fueled up beforehand, had a good breakfast, and then I also was fueling the workout with carbohydrate powder and amino acids mixed into my water bottles, and I was drinking that while I was on the ride. So I was fueling myself as I was doing the workout. And I found that that really helps to keep your energy levels up, and it also helps to just improve your whole athletic performance. If you try and train in a fasted state, you can deplete yourself and actually be counterproductive. So your fitness performance will drop off because you literally run out of energy during the workout. So it's important to keep that fueled pre and intra more so than the anabolic window afterwards. So that's my take on it. I mean, this is something we could literally like go into deep dive on it and do a whole hour-long discussion just on the anabolic window and pre and intra workout nutrition. But it is real, but you want to look at the bigger picture. For the average person who's just trying to lose their gut and get in shape and improve their overall health and wellness, it's not that big a deal. Like consistency with your workouts, consistency with your overall nutrition. Like, are you having your regular meals throughout the day? Are you getting adequate sleep? Are you getting adequate recovery? Like those are the big rocks. Those are the big things that are going to make a difference. And even if you never focused on the anabolic window or pre or intra workout nutrition, as long as you had the big things in place, like consistency with your nutrition, you're meeting your nutrient needs through solid food throughout the day, you're consistent in terms of getting adequate rest and recovery, getting your 8 hours of sleep, all that kind of stuff, minimizing the stress, minimizing all those negative outside influences like alcohol consumption and things that are going to obviously detract from your health and wellness. Getting that stuff taken care of first, that's the big things. That's the big rocks. If you got that taken care of, then the anabolic window has less of an impact. All right. Another thing you got to factor in as well is how often and how hard are you training? Like for the average person who's doing, say, 3 workouts a week, like say a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, the anabolic window is not such a big thing because you have plenty of time between your workouts to fuel and nourish yourself so that you're adequately recovered for your next workout. So again, you do a workout on Monday, you got 48 hours till your workout on Wednesday. It's not a big deal. Like you can get enough nutrition and to fuel and recover your body just through your regular meals. But where this really comes into play is for high performance athletes who are probably doing extended workouts or doing multiple sessions per day. So I'll give you an example. Like let's just say we have a football player who does a weight training workout in the morning and then he has a football practice in the afternoon. In between those workouts, it's important to make sure that he's getting adequate nutrition so that he can recover and then perform for the second workout, because he needs to get that into his system as fast as possible. So where there's multiple workouts a day, this is where post-workout nutrition really can play a big role, because you want to have those nutrients into the system as fast as possible to help recover and be able to perform for the second session. So that's where they can really play a big role. Whereas the average person who's only working out a few times a week, it's not that big of a deal because you'll have plenty of time to let yourself recover. I'll give you another analogy to kind of, outside of fitness and nutrition, but it'll kind of make this make sense. Think of racing, and I mean automotive racing, car racing, like say NASCAR or Formula One or IndyCar or something like that. When the car pulls into pit lane, they have high-speed fuel pumps to pump the fuel into the car as fast as possible. They have a pit crew who can change the tires in the matter of seconds. Like it's amazing. Like if you ever watched, especially like Formula One, like that's just off the charts. It's like they can do a full 4-tire change in the matter of seconds. Like it's mind-blowing. Now, when they pull into pit lane, they want to have rapid results. They want to get the fuel in the car, they want to get the tires changed, and they want to get that car back out on the racetrack as soon as possible, because every second that they waste in pit lane is seconds that they're losing on the track and that could potentially cost them the race. Whereas when you pull into the gas station with your daily driver, does it matter how long it takes you to fill up your car? Like if it takes you 30 seconds, takes you 3 minutes, or takes you 5 minutes, like in the greater scheme of things, does it matter? No. You'll still get to work. You'll still get to the grocery store. You'll still do everything that you need to do. And the time you spend at the service station really doesn't make that much of a difference in your driving performance, if you will, or the functionality of your car. So it's a different scenario. And the same thing applies with regular people who are working out at the gym just to improve their overall health and wellness. Does the anabolic window really have a big impact in that situation? Not really. You know, it's not going to make or break your progress. You can still get good results with just good old-fashioned healthy eating and just consistent lifestyle habits. You don't need to be strict and stressing yourself out over the having that rapid absorption of nutrients into your system, right? So it's a different scenario. And that's why, as I mentioned, when you're looking at fitness and nutrition advice, it may be good advice for a certain situation and a certain demographic. Like, again, using that car analogy, having rapid results in pit lane for a race car, yeah, that can make or break the results they get. But for the average driver, it doesn't matter. You know, it doesn't matter if it takes you several minutes or a half hour to get your tires changed, or even if you drop your car off at the garage and you pick it up the next day. Like, in the greater scheme of things, it's not going to make or break your results. So you got to apply it to your specific situation. So hopefully that helps to clarify that for you. All right, let's see what else we got there. Mick is joining in. Welcome, Mick. What do you think of an upper-lower body split? I tried it this week, and recovery was brilliant. I love it. I love upper-lower body splits. I've actually utilized several of them myself. I recommend them to a lot of my coaching students. It's a nice combination between the because there's all kinds of different splits, and the bottom line is you can make results with virtually any type of workout as long as you're consistent. Like, that's the most important thing, is consistency and training in a progressive overload fashion. So whether that's a old school bodybuilding bro split, as they say, whether it's a total body workout, whether it's a push-pull legs, whether it's an upper-lower, or any combination of all of the above, the consistency is the most important thing. But you can make good progress with upper-lower. And the thing I like about the upper-lower is it's kind of like a nice gap, bridge in the gap, if you will, between a bodybuilding split and a total body. And the thing you got to look at with a total body workout, it's great from a practical point of view, especially for people who have limited time and maybe you're not as consistent with your workouts, or you only have 2 or 3 days a week to go to the gym. It's nice to be able to hit all your major muscle groups each time. I usually shoot for total body workouts. That's what I find works the best for me, because with my schedule and my workouts and that now, I usually do weight training 2 to 3 days a week. So when I go to the gym, I want to be able to hit all my major muscle groups. So even if something came up and I missed a session, it's no big deal, because the next time I go to the gym, I'm still going to hit all my major muscle groups. There's not going to be any large gaps between body parts. If you're doing a bro split, you know, like chest day, back day, leg day, shoulder day, arm day, if you miss a day and you have it all on this, body part split, there could be large gaps before you get around to training that same muscle group again. So with a upper lower, it's kind of bridging the gap. So you're still getting, upper body one day, lower body next, upper body one day, lower body next. So you're hitting more frequency, but it's not as frequent as a total body. But you're allowing yourself more exercise variety, because when you're breaking up your bodies into half like that, you can get some more exercises in. So it's just another nice little variation put in there. But yeah, if it's working for you, you're enjoying it, keep doing it. Keep doing it for as long as it's working. Ride that wave of momentum. And every program you follow will go through a phase of adapt, grow, and eventually it'll hit a plateau. Every program, regardless of what program it is, bro split, push-pull legs, upper-lower, total body, whatever crazy program you see on Joe Blow, fitness influencer on Instagram, or the latest YouTube video or whatever. Every program out there goes through the phases of adapt, meaning you try something new, and in the process of trying something new, you're providing your body with unique muscle stimulation. It has to adapt and grow in response to that unique muscle stimulation. So first phase is adapt. Second phase is grow, the growth phase, because as you're adapting, you're going to start to see some results. So, right, your body's going to respond. It's going to start to grow bigger and stronger and favorable in response to the adaptations that happens in response to that new muscle stimulation. Eventually, you're going to get to the point where that's no longer unique muscle stimulation and your body has adapted and grown from it. And now it starts to go stale, where you can still make some progress with it, provided you're training in a progressive overload fashion, but it starts to become routine and it's not really unique muscle stimulation. And very often the results start to plateau. And every program goes through this. And now the timeline can vary. Like if you're new to training, if you're new, you might be able to go several weeks or even several months with the same program and make consistent progress with it. As you get more advanced, this adapt, grow, plateau phase starts to speed up. So you'll oftentimes see advanced trainers have to change up their workouts more and more frequently. And for high-level trainers and athletes, sometimes they have to structure their training in a progressive periodization fashion where maybe like every few weeks they're changing it up. Or they'll go through phases where they ramp up the intensity and then they have to back off and do like an active recovery deload phase, and then ramp up the intensity and have to do an active recovery deload phase. So they're constantly varying the muscle stimulation that their body is under. But again, the bottom line is if you're following a certain workout program, you're enjoying it, it's producing results, keep doing it for as long as it's working. But be aware of that in the back of your mind. Say, okay, eventually when my results start to slow down, then I might need to change it up and provide some more unique muscle stimulation. And that's when you can either change up the workouts, change up the exercises, change up the set and rep pattern, change up the split. There's numerous ways to provide unique muscle stimulation, but you got to think of it from the bigger picture perspective. We have Kali joining in, says, listening for the first time. Welcome. Glad to have you joining in. What else we got there? Baby Boomer Fitness. What do you think about soy additives? Seems they put a ton of it in foods. Do you think it dumbs down our natural tests and increases estrogen? There's a school of thought that certainly says that, and then there's also a school of thought that's saying the estrogens in soy products are not the same as estrogens in the body. Like there's two schools of thought. And unfortunately, if you start reading research and studies, like people can cherry pick and stuff, and you can manipulate research and studies to get the result that you want, unfortunately. So it's not always accurate. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of soy products. Like I do not go out of my way to consume soy. Like I'm not going to be going out and eating tofu, and I don't buy soy protein. And when I try and get products, I try and get things that have other sources of protein versus soy. However, with that being said, I will consume some soy products. Like prime example, I enjoy flavoring my food with soy sauce. It adds a lot of flavor for very few calories. So that's one source of soy that I will get. And of course, it will be in a lot of processed foods. There is usually soy additives in there, but that's another motivation, if you will, to kind of minimize your intake of processed foods. But as far as the testosterone issue, it's really a hard call because again, there's so many things that could impact your testosterone. Soy may be one of them for sure, right? But it's really hard to say for sure. And there's so many variations there because some people do consume a lot of soy in their diet and they seem to be fine. Others, say it's, it's the worst thing that you can consume. So I kind of take that middle of the road approach, and I don't go out of my way to consume soy, but if some sneaks into my diet, through certain foods, I'm not going to stress over it either. I try to think of weighing the pros and the cons. Like as long as I'm doing more good things to move me in the right direction versus bad things to pull me in the wrong direction, you can still make this work. But I would recommend like looking at the label of things, and I'll give you some examples. Like protein bars. This is something a lot of people consume. And if you buy the cheap protein bars, like especially you go to like Walmart and the grocery store and stuff, and they have these cheap protein bars on sale, you look at the protein content, a lot of it is soy protein. And very often, if you're getting the higher quality protein bars that either have like whey protein, or they might have egg protein, or different higher quality sources of protein, you're typically going to pay for those. So it's worth probably spending a little bit extra money to get the higher quality ones versus the cheap soy bars. So things like that. So I'll personally avoid that. Same with a lot of these meal replacement drinks and stuff like that. Like if you look at the cheap protein drinks or the cheap meal replacement drinks, like a lot of these shakes, I'm thinking like these Weight Watcher shakes or Slim Fast shakes or whatever. A lot of those are made with cheap soy protein, right? Because again, it's inexpensive. They can say it's high in protein on the label, which sells the product, but then when you look at where the protein's coming from, it's usually coming from soy, which is not the highest quality source of protein. Regardless of the whole estrogen thing and testosterone thing, just the quality of the protein is not the best, right? It's not as good as other sources. So like I usually shoot for whey protein if I'm going to get protein bars and protein shakes and things like that, or other forms. Egg protein's another good one. All right. But yeah, I try to avoid the soy, but I'm not going to stress out over it if it is in some foods that I do consume. What else we got there? Mark is joining in. Welcome. Says, I have a 17-year-old son who has been weight training for 2 years now, making good gains in strength and weight. He has asked about using creatine. At what age would you recommend using creatine? If he wants to use creatine, there's no problem using creatine. Like, I want to address that. Like, a lot of people think creatine is bad for you. Creatine is a very healthy thing. I mean, first off, it's a natural substance. It's found in our natural food. So if you're eating a well-balanced diet, you're getting creatine through your diet. Creatine is essential. Like it's found in especially in meat and fish and things like that. You're getting, that's your greatest source of dietary creatine. But there's a lot of health benefits to creatine. It's not just a performance enhancing supplement. It's an overall health and wellness supplement. And there's a lot of benefits. I mean, from the physical side, it'll help to improve your muscle gains. It'll help to improve your strength. It'll help to improve your recovery. When you're taking creatine and training hard, you won't feel as beat up from your training. It'll actually help to aid with the recovery process. Because what creatine does from a performance side of things is it pulls nutrients and water into the muscle cells. So it has this cell volumization. So you're pulling all those nutrients into your cells, would actually help to enhance the recovery, the growth, and the strength. And it helps to rejuvenate your ATP, your adenosine triphosphate energy system, which is your explosive energy system. So it's very powerful from that point of view, but also from a health and wellness point of view. Like creatine has been shown to have mental and cognitive benefits. In fact, especially with elderly people, like people who Alzheimer's and dementia and things like that. Like creatine is very powerful from that point of view, and it has a lot of mental and cognitive benefits as well. So creatine is a safe supplement, and quite honestly, I think everybody should be supplementing with creatine. Like it's not just a muscle building product, it's an overall health and wellness product. So especially for those of you who are older, definitely help to prevent future mental cognitive issues and the mental issues like the Alzheimer's and dementia and Parkinson's and all that. Creatine is shown to help with those and help to stave off those illnesses. So yeah, it's certainly an overall health and wellness supplement. And as far as your son, if he wants to start supplementing it, by all means, it's a safe supplement to use. What I would recommend to avoid some of the drawbacks with creatine is, first off, don't follow the loading phase. So if you buy a creatine product, a lot of times they'll say, well, load up on it for the first week and then taper off to a maintenance dose. I recommend just starting with the maintenance dose. And the reason for that, if you go from no creatine supplementation to loading it, and let me just move that so you can see my face there. I'm hidden under a block of text. If you go to loading creatine, so you have never taken creatine before, and then all of a sudden you start boat loading 20 or 30 grams a day or whatever the recommended amount is on the supplement. That's a shock to the system. That's like you've never had creatine, and then that's a lot. Now, you may be able to tolerate it fine, or it may cause some stomach upset. And a lot of times when people complain of creatine causing problems, like, oh, it's causing me bloating or upset stomach and stuff like that, it's usually in that loading phase. So if you start off with the maintenance phase of, say, like 5 grams a day, or even less, for someone just starting off, you could even go like a couple grams a day and then build it up, like 2 grams a day for the first week, 3 grams a day for the next week, 4 grams a day, whatever, and just build it up gradually. Or you can just kind of, eyeball it and say, okay, I'm going to start with 5 grams a day, which is the general recommended maintenance dose for most people. Starting on that will allow the creatine to build up in your system at a slower rate. And then once your cells are saturated with creatine, then you're going to reap the benefits that creatine has to offer. And even if it takes you a few weeks to get to that saturation point, that's fine. Like it's still more than you're naturally getting through your diet alone. So let it build up naturally and slowly. And this will help to reduce a lot of the so-called side effects that people have in terms of bloating or stomach upset or anything like that. So that's what I recommend. And it's an easier transition. And over the long term, it's just as effective. So that's what I do. Like, I've been taking creatine for, oh my goodness. I started taking creatine back in 1995 when it really started to become a mainstream nutritional supplement. This really took off and hit the market back in 1995, and I've been using it ever since. And I take it on a regular basis, just the same as I take my vitamins on a regular basis. Just like you take a multivitamin on a daily basis, I take my creatine on a daily basis. And in fact, I take it when I take my multivitamins. And so that's why I recommend doing it. And with creatine, it's not a timed supplement, meaning like it doesn't matter if you take it pre-workout, post-workout, or whatever. Like, it's not a stimulant, not like caffeine or something like that, where you have to take it at a certain time in order for it to be effective. Creatine is something that builds up in your system. So as long as you have adequate creatine stores in your system, you're going to reap the benefits of it. So I usually just in the morning after breakfast, that's when I usually take my vitamins, and I take my creatine then. And I've just been doing that for years. And I find that that's more than enough. It's very simple to do, and it just helps you to reap the benefits that creatine has to offer. And it is a relatively inexpensive supplement. Now, I know prices of creatine in recent years have kind of jumped since the whole pandemic. A lot of things have gone up in price, and creatine is certainly one of those. But when you still look at it, the volume of creatine you get and the serving cost per serving, it still is a very good value for the benefits that it provides. So I would recommend everybody take creatine, regardless if you're working out or not. All right, what else we got there? Baby Boomer Fitness. Let's see. Sponsored the chat. Much appreciated. Thank you for your support. It goes a long way. It certainly helps. Thank you so much. I'm glad you're enjoying the video chat. Let's see. Who else we have here joining in? So we had the creatine question. Where was that to? I lost my space there. Just a second, guys. I got to find where I was. Okay, that was Mark's question there about creatine. We have Alex joining in. Hey, Alex, welcome. Alex is a regular. Good question on endocrine and good answer. Thanks, Mick. Glad you enjoyed it and appreciated it. We have Don joining in. Welcome, Don. Glad to have you joining in. David saying, anytime I use deodorant with aluminum in it, my glands in my armpit get sore, and over time they'll swell. Once I stop and switch to an aluminum-free natural one, it stopped. Arm and Hammer naturals are great, just for your information. Thanks for sharing that, David. I appreciate you for sharing that. I'm going to share something that's, I find if I shower regularly, I can very often get away without using a lot of deodorant. I mean, because back in the day, I used to just, every morning I'd put on deodorant because I need to put on deodorant. But a lot of times, like, I smell pretty good. Like, honestly, there's no stink there, right? And I didn't put on deodorant today. Like, so if I don't need to put on artificial products like deodorant and stuff like that, I don't. And I find as long as I'm showering and cleaning and good hygiene and changing your clothes regularly and all that kind of stuff and eating a healthy diet, so you're not toxifying your body from a nutrition point of view. Like, when I'm eating clean and healthy, avoiding alcohol, avoiding processed foods, avoiding all those toxins and stuff that can cause you to have a stank, I find I don't need a deodorant. Like, back when I was eating more processed junk and I wasn't as conscious over my health and nutrition, I used to have a lot more body odor. And I think it's probably because all the crap that you're consuming would probably come out into your skin and your pores and everything else. But since I've really focused on improving my overall health and lifestyle and eating habits, I don't need a lot. Now, I will still use it sometimes, especially, if I'm going out somewhere and I want to make sure that I don't have any body odor or whatever. But a lot of times, especially when I'm doing my day-to-day thing, I don't, it's not a daily thing for me, put it that way, right? It's not a daily thing for me to use deodorant. And I didn't put any on today and I still smell fresh. So just want to share, like, that's something I try to minimize the use of those things. And even like hair products and colognes and stuff like that. Like, back when I was younger, I used to put crap in my hair. Like, nowadays, I don't give a shit. I mean, right. So, and same thing with shampoo. Like, I don't shampoo my hair every single day, right? Like, I'll wash it and rinse it with water and stuff like that, but I mean, I try not to overuse stuff like that. So I try to minimize it. So like shampoo my hair maybe a couple times a week, but I will rinse it off in the shower, to get any dirt and grime or whatever off just that way. But I try to minimize the use of artificial products to the best of my ability. And, ironically, it's, I don't stink like I thought I would, because I always was just automatically every morning cracking on the deodorant, and everything else. I mean, who knows? Like, you just think day after day, year after year of doing that, like, how much crap are you putting into your system? So if you can minimize it, or at the very least use the natural products like David mentioned there, certainly can go a long way. What else we got there? There's probably too much information. People saying, oh my God, Lise doesn't have deodorant on today. Well, you can't smell me through a computer screen anyway. But seriously, like, I have no body odor and I didn't put on deodorant today. All right. But I still shower every day. So, I mean, I'm still keeping myself clean from that point of view. What else we got there? Moving on. All right. Keep this show going. Hidden hand. All right. Here's a sleight of hand trick here. I started dieting last month. I'm doing pretty good, but I have never been very patient. I don't know if that's a question, comment, or what. I don't think there's any follow-up to that. All right, I don't see any other feedback or follow-up to it. I'm just going to touch on that comment because there's a lot to unpack with this. It's a simple statement, but there's a lot to unpack. First off, you started a diet. If you're on a diet and your diet has a start and an end date, the results are only temporary. I personally do not diet. And with my coaching students, like people who are part of our Muscle After 40 Blueprint program, we do not put them on a diet. We focus on improving lifestyle and nutrition habits. That's what we focus on. Because if you can't sustain what it is you're doing, then the results are only temporary. And this whole idea of patient, you have to switch your mindset. Instead of thinking that I'm going to go on a diet and I'm going to try and lose 30 pounds in 30 days or whatever, or I'm going on a 6-week cut or a 12-week transformation or whatever. Like, instead of thinking in these short-term things, think of the rest of your life. Like, you literally, this is not just something you're trying to do for the next few weeks or the next few months or whatever. It's something you're trying to do for the rest of your life. So instead of thinking of, I want to get in shape for the summer, or I want to get in shape for a wedding or a reunion or beach vacation or whatever, think of like, I want to be in shape for the rest of my life. Like, where are you going to be a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now? Like, if someone's implementing healthier nutrition and lifestyle habits versus someone who's on and off a diet, think of the long-term effects. And that's what you need to focus on is where are you going to be over the long term? And when I started to see sustainable health and fitness changes is when I stopped this on and off a diet mentality. And this is something I go into a lot of detail within our Muscle After 40 Blueprint program. And in fact, for any of you who are interested in the Muscle After 40 Blueprint, I actually put together a brand new PDF ebook that outlines the Muscle After 40 Blueprint and explains the pros and cons of dieting versus lifestyle change. Because back when I was a competitive bodybuilder, I was always going on and off a diet, a pre-contest diet. So I would put on the blinders and say, okay, that's it. I'm going on a hardcore cutting diet for the next 12 weeks or whatever to get ready for a contest. And so it was like boiled chicken and broccoli, 6 days a week in the gym, 2 hours of cardio a day, kind of burn the candle at both ends, suffer it out in the short term to get in shape for the contest. Then when the contest was over, I'd go back to my old habits, and then I'd regain the weight back again and try to justify, gaining all the weight back again by saying, well, I'm bulking up now because it's the off season. And that's what I did over and over and over again. So year after year, right, I was competing regularly from 1995 up until 2011. And then I took a hiatus for 10 years, and then I actually made a comeback just a couple of years ago. I did the Masters division in 2021. Just wanted to make a comeback and see how I could I hold my own on stage as a Masters competitor. But in all that contest prep, it was always on and off a diet, and my weight would balloon up and down as much as 50 pounds from my contest diet to my quote unquote off season, which is really just getting fat after the diet was over. And once I stopped dieting and stopped having that as my goal and just focusing on healthy, sustainable lifestyle habits, that's when I was able to not only lose the fat, improve my health and fitness, but then sustain it without feeling like I'm on a freaking diet. Because let's face it, who likes feeling like they're on a diet? Who likes to be that guy who's on a diet? So like you go out to a restaurant and say, oh, I'm not allowed to eat that because I'm on a diet. Or you go to a family dinner and you say, oh, I'm not allowed to eat this because I'm on a diet. Or it doesn't fit my macros or whatever. Like, we don't want to focus on being on a diet. We just want to focus on being good enough, but good enough consistently, and having this healthy lifestyle approach. So once I stopped thinking of a diet and having this end goal of, oh, I got to lose 30 pounds in the next 3 months or whatever, and having this short-term thing and just focusing on, I just want to focus on improving my overall health and wellness, and then let that compound over time. It was a game changer. It really was. And that's what's allowed me to get my weight under control, maintain a lean, healthy physique where I'm comfortable in my own skin, feeling good and feeling energy and healthy without feeling like I'm on a freaking diet. And that's the whole Muscle After 40 Blueprint. That's what we really developed, a sustainable system. And it goes into detail. It's not just okay, here's your calories, here's your macros, here's your sets and reps, go get them, tiger. It's really an overall health and wellness lifestyle approach, almost like a personal development system geared towards health and wellness. That's what the Muscle After 40 program is all about. So if you want some more information about it, just send me an email. Again, my details are down in the description below. Drop me an email and just say, send me the Muscle After 40 PDF. Just send me an email with that, and I'll fire that over to you. It's a full PDF ebook that I put together outlining the entire system. Be happy to share it with you. So if you want more information about it, I think that would be a game changer. I mean, it was a game changer for me. It got me out of that bodybuilding meathead on and off a diet approach to just a sustainable, healthy lifestyle approach. And that's just like been a weight lifted off my shoulders, where I don't need to worry about going on and off diets for the rest of my life. Just live a healthier lifestyle. It's so simple once you get it, but then, like, looking back at it now, I'm like, why the hell was I ever fat to begin with? Like, once you get it and you understand how simple it can be to live a lean, healthy lifestyle, you'll almost be kicking yourself in the ass saying, like, why did I ever let myself get fat to begin with? Because it doesn't have to be as complicated as a lot of people make it out to be. But the big one is you got to let go of that patient thing. Because a lot of people, I just want to share this again. I say going off on a tangent or going off on a rant, but one of my good friends, Paul Miller, he says, no, they're not tangents or rants. They're what do you call them? Passionate observations or something he calls it. But this is one of my passionate observations that I've noticed is everyone is so in a hurry to lose weight once they decide they're going on a diet. Like they could have went weeks or months or years, sometimes even decades without giving a shit about their diet and exercise. Like, I'm going to just eat whatever I want. I'm going to not exercise. Like, I don't care, blah, blah, blah. I'm too busy. Now's not the right time. And they just ignore. But once they finally go on a diet, it's like, okay, I got to lose weight as fast as possible, right? I've neglected my health and fitness for the last 10 years, but now that I'm on a diet, man, we got to get in shape within the next 30 days, right? I got to lose 30 pounds in 30 days. And it's almost like, why is the rush? Like, you've neglected it for the last 10 years. Like, what's so special about the next 30 days or the next 6 weeks or 90 days or whatever timeline you give yourself? Why are you so impatient when you've been neglecting it for years leading up to that point? Like, why don't you just focus on getting better than you were before, right? And just let it compound. Because the biggest mistake with dieting is people will go on these extreme cuts, whether like, I'm going to cut my carbs and go keto, or I'm going to go intermittent fasting, or I'm going to go on whatever crazy extreme cutting diet. You know, like there's a gazillion of them out there. And a lot of them, the most effective ones are these extreme starvation diets, right? Where you're drastically cutting your calories. And yeah, of course, if you drastically cut your calories, you're going to lose weight. But if you don't enjoy it and you can't sustain it, like if you can't see yourself following that diet for the rest of your life, then the results are only temporary. So what's the point of losing 30 pounds over the next, say, 3 months, if 6 months or a year later, you got 40 pounds put back on? Like, long term, what's the point of that, right? You got fatter with every diet you did. And that's the way it is with most people. Like, it's yo-yo dieting syndrome. Like, they'll crash diet, lose a bunch of weight, and then once they can't stand feeling hungry and irritable and hangry, they go off the diet, binge eat, regain the weight back again, and then now they're fatter than ever, and then they could stay stuck in that rut before they finally muster up enough willpower to start another diet, and then the cycle starts over and over again. And unfortunately, the people who do the most dieting are sometimes the fattest, because, okay, you lose 30 pounds, you put 40 back on. You go on a diet, you lose a bit, and then you put it all back on, and usually a few pounds more. We don't want to go on a diet. We just want to live a lean, healthy lifestyle. And to kind of put it in perspective, let's take another analogy. I love using analogies because it helps to really make stuff make sense. Think of a smoker who's trying to quit smoking. Like, what's the point of quitting smoking if you're only going to pick it back up again? Like, a lot of people, if you're a smoker yourself, you probably quit and started multiple times, or at least you know people who've quit and started multiple times. Like, we don't want to get good at quitting smoking. We just want to be a non-smoker, one and done. Same when it comes to dieting. Like, we don't want to get good at dieting. We just want to live a lean, healthy lifestyle, one and done. So it's not a diet. It's just a lifestyle change. Once you make that transition, and it's a mindset shift more than anything, but once you make that transition, it's a game changer. And the thing is you got to let go of this desire for instantaneous results, this get ripped quick type of approach, you know, these 30-day shreds or 6-week cuts or whatever, and think like, where am I going to be this time next year, in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years? Like, where am I going to be in the long term? And think bigger, think longer, versus where am I going to be, you know, in 6 weeks when I go on vacation? Like, once you start changing your perspective, that's when you'll really start to see long-term change. All right, enough of my passionate observation and move on. We're actually over an hour. Wow, I'm going to get ready and clue this up soon, but I'll answer a couple more questions. We have Sean. And boy, that's a fine avatar picture you got there. Wow. Says, hi, Lee, I'm from Australia. Glad to be able to catch your live stream. It's been a lot earlier recently. Yes, sometimes when I'm joined by my co-host, Jeff Samatero, we usually do them earlier in the day. When I run solo, I sometimes do them later in the day. But yeah, glad to have you joining in, Sean. Welcome. What amino acids would you recommend? That's from Gabe. I recommend essential amino acids. Now, as far as the brand is concerned, any reputable brand will be equally as good. Like, I'm not, a huge advocate of one brand over another, but you want to look for EAA, essential amino acids. And this is important because it has all the essential amino acids that your body needs, that your body cannot manufacture on its own. Sometimes people were using BCAAs, the branch chain amino acids. And those are the 3 amino acids that are primarily used for muscle growth. But the essential amino acids contains the BCAAs, the branch chains, but it also contains all the other amino acids, the essential ones that your body cannot manufacture on its own. So as long as you're consuming all those amino acids, your body will utilize it and be able to produce the amino acids it needs. Because your body can take the essential amino acids, combine them and convert them into the quote unquote non-essential amino acids. But the essential ones, those are the ones that must be consumed through dietary sources. The body cannot manufacture them on their own. So that's what you want to look for, an essential amino acid. The ones that I use personally, it's an EAA product that I get from Canadian Protein. That's like a private label Canadian company, and they sell like bulk protein powders, bulk amino acid powders, like virtually a lot of the mainstream supplements. You can just get the raw material, the raw supplement itself, without all the fillers and the crap and the advertising hype that goes along with it. And I find that it's not only good value for the money, but it's a good quality product. So that's what I get my protein powder. I get my amino acids from there. I get a lot of different supplements. I get my creatine and stuff from Canadian Protein. But again, any reputable brand of amino acids, essential amino acids, that is, will do. Okay. David's just saying, I need to start back bike riding. I used to mountain bike back home after some years ago. Anything to look for specifically in a good bike, or any tips on someone getting back into it? Great question. And I'm an avid cycling enthusiast myself. That's something that I've really gotten passionate about over the last several years. And I've always rode a bike ever since I was a kid and learned to ride a bike. And I was, from a toddler on my tricycle to a little, the cruiser bike with the banana seat and the training wheels, and then getting the training wheels off it, and then getting the BMX, and then eventually getting a mountain bike, and progressed on through. But like ever since I was a kid, like I never stopped riding a bike, like all through my childhood and then through my teenage years, and then even into my 20s and 30s and 40s, I've always rode bikes. And how I did it was because I used that as a primary form of cardio when I was getting ready for bodybuilding shows, because cycling is a great form of cardio. It's easy on the joints, awesome calorie burner, and it's a hell of a lot of fun. So I've cycled my whole life and I didn't stop. But in recent years, I've really stepped it up a notch and gotten more serious about it. And one thing that I've really focused on now is get yourself a good bike. If you're serious about cycling, you want to get yourself a good bike. And I'll admit, back in my early days, I used to ride department store bikes because I was like, a bike is a bike. It's got 2 wheels, it's got handlebars, it's got a seat, like pedals. Like a bike's a bike. I'm going to go to Walmart and spend $200, right? And that's my bike. And then I would ride it for a few months and the thing would crap out and break, something to give out and snap or crack or break or whatever. And then I go and I spend another $200 and buy another one. And I did that for years. And then I remember my wife and I, we actually were on vacation. This was, oh my God, several years back now. We were in Jasper, Alberta, and on vacation. And there was a bike shop that rented bikes. And they had proper mountain bikes that you could rent. And I rented a proper name brand bike. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head now because it was, oh my God, that was back like it was over a decade ago. I know that. But anyway, we rented the bikes and I went for a ride on a proper bike and I was like, holy crap. Like it looks the same. 2 wheels, a seat, handlebars, pedals. I mean, bike's a bike. But the feel and the quality and just the stability and the solidness of that proper bike versus the shitty old department store bike was like night and day. And I said, no more. I'm not riding a department store bike anymore. So after we got home from that vacation, I went out then, went to the bike store. This was again, over a decade ago, and I spent over $2,000 on a proper mountain bike. And the quality of that was awesome. I still have that bike, right? It's still a solid bike. And since then, I've always went to bike stores and gotten proper bikes. And my most recent bike, it was pricey. I'll admit that. It's not cheap. We're talking in the multiple thousands of dollars for a bicycle. Now, I know a lot of people look at that, oh, I'm not spending thousands of dollars on a bike, but the quality and the comfort and just the durability, it's unreal. And where you really notice it is not so much in the little short rides, like if you're doing like a little half-hour scoot around town or something, but if you're doing multiple hour rides, like this morning I did a 5-hour ride and felt comfortable, like no back pain, no arse pain, like I felt comfortable for the whole ride because I have a freaking good bike to ride on. So go to the bike store and get a bike. Now, you don't have to break the bank. Like you can get a darn good aluminum frame bike, for, in the $1,000 range, right? You can get a darn good one. Now, when you get into the carbon fiber and stuff like that, obviously you're going to pay more money for it. But I would recommend going to a proper bike store, get them to help fit you on a bike, right? Because I mean, like you can usually a lot of bike stores can do bike fits and offer suggestions and everything else for you, your body type, your size, and everything else. But look into it, and I would recommend for someone just looking for getting back into it, probably get a hardtail mountain bike with front suspension, aluminum frame. That's where I would probably start. And I think that would be a bike that you could have for years, and it'd be a good quality bike that you could enjoy and, enjoy cardio and fat burning and health and fitness benefits and just the fun and adventure that comes with bike riding. Now, if you're into more serious off-road riding, you might want to get a full suspension, but obviously that's going to jack the price up a bit more. But for light trails and casual riding, a hardtail mountain bike would be fine. And what I mean by hardtail, it means there's no back suspension. Right, but that would be fine for most people. I know I actually recommended that to one of my co-hosts, Jeff Samatero, and that's what he did. He went out and got a hardtail mountain bike, has front suspension but no back suspension, and that's perfect for his needs. Like for light trails and just casual riding, it's awesome. So that's what I would recommend. The big take-home message: don't go to the department store, don't go to Walmart and spend $200 on a piece of crap, because that's like $200 wasted. You're much better off go to a bike store and get a proper bike. All right, moving on. What else we got there? Mike is saying, good day, Lee. Thanks for addressing my question. All the big rocks are in place. Good stuff. Get the big rocks in the jar first. Trevor saying, I started BMX sprints and I love it for athleticism. Awesome. Glad to see that, Trevor. And again, I'm sure as someone who's racing bikes, a proper bike makes a big difference. Like you don't go pick up a cheap ass BMX bike at the department store and think that it's going to hold up for racing. It ain't going to hold up. You need to get yourself a proper bike. All right, I'm going to answer a couple more questions and then we're going to clue it up because I know there's still a ton of questions coming through here, but I'm not going to have time for them all. Let's see. A few comments about things I've already discussed here. Yep, I gotcha. All right, here's an interesting one. I'm just going to throw this one. Dante S, I think it is. Thoughts on using magnesium for recovery, sleep, and heart health. I personally love magnesium. I take it as a regular part of my supplement stack, if you will. And magnesium is one of those supplements. It's not just a performance supplement. It's an overall health and wellness supplement. Just like you kind of mentioned, recovery, sleep, heart health. There's so many benefits. Like go on Google and start search like health benefits of magnesium, and you'll get oodles and oodles of information. But I personally take magnesium. I take it twice a day. I take it in the morning with my breakfast and my multivitamins, my creatine and all that stuff. And then I also take it in the evening. I do a ZMA in the evening, zinc, magnesium, and B6. And I take that as a sleep a natural sleep aid, if you will, because it helps to relax your body, helps you promote a good, healthy night's sleep. And it also provides the raw materials your body needs for optimal hormone production, like zinc and magnesium, very beneficial for helping to ensure that you're having good natural testosterone production. So that's something that I use, and I've been using it for years, and it does certainly make a difference. Yeah, I'm a big advocate of magnesium supplements, and I take them regularly. So if you're using it, keep doing it. Let's see what else. Let's see here. I'm just scrolling through. There's a whole bunch of questions here now. I know I'm not going to be able to answer them all, but I just want to see if there's... Here's an interesting one. I'll clue it up with this one. This is Ryan saying, any tips on lowering my food budgets in Eastern Canada? Well, this would apply anywhere, I think, because, you know, regardless if you're on the East Coast, the West Coast, you're in Canada, United States, you're in Europe, you're Australia, you have chances are you're buying your food at a grocery store. So same principles apply most places. So any tips on lowering food budgets? Good thing I quit drinking because broccoli has equaled it in costs now. Okay. Lowering your food budgets. One thing that I've found helpful for myself is with food, like I get a lot of my groceries at Costco. And if you have a Costco membership, that is a great place to go. I mean, you can get a lot of stuff at Costco for much cheaper than you do at the grocery store. And for anybody who lives close to a Costco, I would highly recommend it. Now, there's other bulks, like there's Sam's Clubs, and there's different places like that. But that can go a long way. And I'll give you an analogy or an example. It's just like I'm salad. Like I love these big bags of garden salads. I mean, that's something I have one of them every single day. And for the price that I can get one salad at the grocery store, I can get two at Costco for the exact same price. They sell them in a twin pack for the exact same stuff, literally half the price. Same thing with like yogurt and eggs and cottage cheese and a lot of fruits and vegetables and stuff. A lot of times you can probably get it for half price at Costco. Now you got to buy it in bulk, but it works out. Like when you look at the volume, like for example, like I can buy a bag of oranges, a big ass bag of oranges at Costco for the same price as a small bag at the grocery store. Or I can get a big pack of extra lean ground beef for the same price as a little pack at the grocery store, right? I can get 30 eggs for the same price as a dozen eggs at the grocery store. Like it's just so much cheaper, right? So I buy a lot of my stuff at Costco, and I find like that goes a long way to cutting down the food costs. Other things you can look into as far as vegetables, you mentioned broccoli is expensive. Frozen vegetables are, generally speaking, a lot cheaper than fresh, and they tend to last a lot longer as well because they're frozen. So, and depending on where you live, especially in Canada, like we have to get a lot of foods imported, and by the time it gets shipped here, depending on where you live and everything else, sometimes the food is rotting on the shelf before you even buy it. Like I've seen that, especially if you go to smaller communities and stuff like that, and it's unfortunate, but because there's such a big import and shipping time and everything else, by the time the food actually gets to you, it's half rotten. So frozen is a huge advantage because obviously it's picked and frozen when it's at its ideal ripeness, and the food will sustain longer, but it's very often a lot cheaper. Like if you buy a bag of frozen broccoli versus fresh broccoli, it'll probably be half the price to get the same volume in frozen versus fresh. And that also applies with fruit. Like you buy frozen strawberries versus fresh strawberries, you'll get them for half the price. You know, same thing, frozen blueberries or frozen whatever. A lot of times it'll be way cheaper than getting the fresh. Now, with that being said, I still like to get fresh if I can get good quality fresh produce, but I have no problem buying the frozen. And it's just a lot of the stuff, I will get some frozen options. And I find that that's a great way to cut down on your costs as well. Also check out some local areas. Like if you know any local farmers, you might be able to get local eggs or local meats and stuff like that. A lot of times the stuff tastes way better than the store-bought, and you may be able to get it cheaper, right? That's another thing. Or if you know any hunters or fishermen or something like that, right? You might be able to luck into some stuff. Like here in Newfoundland, moose hunting is very popular. And I've got several friends and family members who moose hunt. And when they go and get a moose in the fall of the year, I mean, I very often can stock up the freezer with some moose meat. A lot of times, if it's friends and family, they may give it to you, or you can probably buy it for very, very cheap. Same with fish. Like, fishermen, a lot of times they're out catching fish, and if they're doing it for sport, they'll probably catch way more than they can consume on their own. So you might be able to luck into it. Or if you're a hunter or fisherman yourself, that's a great way to get some extra, high protein food at very low cost. But that's, all these little things add up, right? But those are some simple strategies that I use myself that certainly helps eating a healthy diet more manageable, right? Minimize the cost right there. All right, guys, I'm going to get ready and clue this up because we've literally been going for an hour and 20 minutes, right? I promise an hour and I always over deliver, right? Because I got the gift of gab. When I get yakking on this, I keep going. But I'm going to clue it up because it is getting late for me, and I have my wife has dinner on the table out there, and I don't want to leave the family waiting. So thanks again for tuning in. Thanks for participating. We had some awesome questions and great participation there. And if you have any further questions or concerns or comments about what was discussed here, feel free to reach out to me. Like if I didn't cover your question or you want further elaboration on anything, send me a private message through Facebook, drop me an email. My email address and my Facebook account are down below in the description. Reach out to me there. I'd be more than happy to have a chat with you. And as I mentioned earlier, if you would like a copy of the Muscle After 40 Blueprint ebook PDF that I put together, just send me a message or send me an email. Just say, hey, send me the Muscle After 40 Blueprint PDF, and I'll send that over to you ASAP. And that really goes into a lot of this mindset and this different approach that we have where we're not going on and off diets, but we're focusing on lifestyle changes and long-term sustainability instead of this short-term going on a diet type of approach where you lose a bunch of weight and then gain it all back again once the diet is over. So if you're looking for permanent sustainable change, then the Muscle After 40 might be a good fit for you. And if you want, I'll send you a copy of that PDF so you can check it out for yourself. All right, I'm going to clue this up, guys, and have yourself a great weekend. And I'll be back here next Friday with another live Q&A. Have yourself a great one. Take care. Over and out.